find it unless they update it. But they say in 1976, 26 children through the age of 5 and 14 was kidnapped, and that's the biggest one. No more genocide, brother, sister, let us come together like we did in Alabama. Not a looking for no drama, ain't a verse up in the Bible say the sin is self-defense. And even if you push your cat up in the corner, Betty scrap 1 million people just a year. They got a shot of euthanasia plus 1,000 so-called blacks every year. They get that TikTok gunshot, ooh, they be holding self not guilty. Everybody in the whole world that seen it still there. The words sounded like hallucination, like I never did see what you see in these fake. The people get tired, so the people stand up, don't like to fight, but what else to do? Everywhere you go, people want to fight, trying to jab back, so you bust a move. Hard to give respect no matter what to do, but a human being got a feeling too. School said we ace, but that ain't the truth. We the gullible people that been going through. To be a cell lot, you can't pay me to be a cell lot. You can't pay me to be a cell lot. You ain't got enough. You ain't got enough. You can't pay me to be a cell lot. You can't pay me to be a cell lot. You ain't got enough. You ain't got enough. Somebody want a butter biscuit. Somebody feed a butter biscuit. Somebody love a half skin. I said, or somebody feed a butter biscuit. Somebody love a tap dancing. I said, or somebody love a tap dancing. Somebody feed a butter biscuit. I said, or somebody feed a butter biscuit. They told me that's the past. What happened yesterday? Well, everybody want that mass move. They want that joker face. They don't really care. They want their pocket line. But when no sheep and let us get the faucets misaligned. No vote or a sale. I'm sick of wasting time. I tell the truth to my people, let the light shine. From sea to sea, hear the mystery was hidden, I reveal. And always wonder why my people always getting killed. For the lack of the knowledge, always living in front of the coffin. Turn back to the covenant, how people made a real promise. And ain't no bribe money, bet the brothers stand for something. But got my eyes on them all, that's the prosper for me. Grandma told me if they hit you better hit back. Now like we gotta apologize if you win track. You love your fights, lessons at home, but you still back. Grandmama, granddaddy, did play, now where the sweet now you can't pay me to be a cell lot. You can't pay me to be a cell lot. You can't pay me to be a cell lot. You ain't got enough, you ain't got it. I said if somebody want a butter biscuit, somebody feed a butter biscuit now. Somebody feed a butter biscuit. I said if somebody feed a butter biscuit, yeah.
Hey, ¿qué hora es? That mean what time it is. And it's Espanol. Wake up, Dr. Rob.
Now what's the definition of being a kidnapped nation?
How y'all doing? Shalom. So fam, I was reading on the transatlantic slave trade about 2 or 3 lives ago, and I'm gonna go over all of the stuff that I've been going over and some of the things that I've been intending also to read in. Prayerfully, I hope that I will be able to get back inside of those things. I want to say shalom to those who will come and listen after this. And if not, Yahweh willing, I pray that the brothers and sisters will run across this video and get something out of it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump. Go ahead and jump to page 2 on what we were studying. And I'm gonna go ahead and start reading. The transatlantic slave trade was the second stage of the triangular trade, the shipment of enslaved people across the Atlantic Ocean. Remember, we know that the transatlantic ocean means the Ethiopian Ocean. And that's also the word that they use for Atlantis, okay? The shipment up to Europe of plantation crops and products made from them was the third leg of the triangular trade. Amongst the most valuable exports to Europe was sugar, tobacco, cotton, molasses, and rum. The slave trade had devastating effects in Africa. Economic incentives for warlords and tribes to engage in the slave. Let me click in there real quick. All right. So I see I'm about to stop at that paragraph. All right. So the slave back to effects. Where you see effects at, the slave trade had devastating effects in Africa. Economic incentives for warlords and tribes to engage in the slave trade, promoted an atmosphere of lawlessness and violence, depopulation, and continuing fear of captivity, made economic and agricultural development almost impossible through much of Western Africa. A large percentage of the people taken captive in West Africa, because they keep saying Africa, but they said that it was taking place in West Africa. A large percentage of the people taken captive in Africa were women in their childbearing years and young men who normally would have been starting families. The European slavers, where we at? Individuals, company? Okay. The European slavers usually left behind persons who were elderly, disabled, or otherwise dependent groups who were least able to contribute to the economic health of their societies. So America and the slave catchers and all of them had a specific group that they wanted to get. The transatlantic slave trade generated great wealth for many individuals, companies, and countries. Shalom to you, to the Mashpaka that entered into to the live, and countries, but brutal trafficking in human beings and large number of deaths that resulted eventually sparked well-organized opposition to the trade. Now you ask yourself, who would want to shut this down? If you getting all this alcohol and trinkets and stuff, who would want to shut this down? And so we're going to, in 1807, the British abolished the slave trade, which means they wrote something against it. Another law passed in 1833 freed enslaved people in British colonies. So if you get you a map and you can look on there, you will see the states that were British colonies. Okay? And I know for sure that Florida was one because I was raised in Florida and I studied Florida. An act, and I believe Georgia was one too. An act banning the importation of slaves into the United States. So I'm going to see where they stopping at over there. So Congress, so it go to where it say Congress, and then I got to flip the page. Where it say 1820s, that's when I have to flip the page. All right. In 1807, the British abolished the slave trade. Another law passed in 1833 freed enslaved people in British colonies. An act banning The importation of slaves into the United States was passed by Congress in 1808. So remember, there was a war that happened. The enslaved people who were renamed Seminoles by the Muskogee Creek when they came to Florida, there was a war that happened. The Gullah people in all of the states was fighting. They fought back. All right. They was on the side of, I believe, uh, George Washington. That's the foundation of the United States of America. But before the foundation of the United States of America, America was the 13 colonies, or you would say American colonies. An act banning the importation of slaves into the United States, so it was banned, was passed by Congress in 1808. Though it did not ban slavery itself, by the 1820s, other countries such as Spain, Holland, Sweden, and France had also passed laws against the slave trade. Such laws did, okay, next page. All right. Such laws did not immediately stop the slave trade. However, as there was still strong demand for enslaved people and profits to make from dealing in them, additional laws, this is the reason why for the additional laws, not because land that I love, not because of none of that. This was additional laws, so a Negro couldn't sing that and put on his tap shoes and be happy about this hymn. Only the tap divers probably would, but anyway, additional laws and ongoing enforcement efforts finally succeeded in ending the transatlantic slave trade, which means the banishment of grabbing people from their kingdom that they destroyed. That's why the indigenous people from North Africa that set up a lodging in West Africa after they was banished out of their own country and kicked out of Spain and Portugal because they wouldn't let them have asylum there anymore. And I believe it was King John II that put out an edict by getting permission from the Pope at that time. So when you look at this right here, efforts finally succeeded in ending the transatlantic slave trade in the late 19th century. Okay? So in the late 19th century, they said that bringing people over here was outlawed from getting them in the ship. So if you brought somebody over here then you was breaking federal law. And they might let you slide. But you still broke it until they shut it down. Okay? So that's why you see the people whose kingdom was ramshacked after they was exiled out of their country, when an act of war was enacted on them, when their worship places and their walls and everything about their houses and everything was burnt down to the stake, and their people was being murdered in their home country in the North Africa, and the little babies' heads was getting smashed against the wall and all type of stuff, and their own kinfolk of the other tribe, the Adawam tribe, was selling them out. He wouldn't let them exit through his land. So they was trying to get through so they can flee. And a lot of them that fled, they went to Spain and Portugal, and some of them went and set up refugee camps in West Africa, where it was already people down there occupying that place. All right. So they set up Ile Efe, they set up the Songhai Empire, they set up the Timbuktu, They set up the oil empire that was set up after there was an attack and their kingdom was destroyed in that area. So the oil empire was a place that the southern tribe had set up as a safe place to go. So that was the refugees that left out of their kingdom and had to leave over there. The soldiers that stayed in a certain area that was staying there to fight, and there was also slave catchers in there, aiding, who were getting paid liquor and different trinkets to come and catch them. All right. So they set up the oil empire. And in the 19th century, after that was the same people, they transformed that place. They changed the name to Benin. All right. So that's the last markings of where your ancestors was. And if you was a criminal investigator, you would try to figure out, in order to trace the steps of the crime, to know what happened. Not to say they pretend like crime never existed. You would actually look into that and say, you know what, this is what actually happened. So, but since people ain't looking into that and they say we'll believe in blue no matter who, it actually disqualifies them of that. And I put this article that I'm reading to you inside of not article, but this history that I'm reading to you is pinned inside of the underneath the video. So when this is over, you can go ahead and grab those files. And if you have another device and want to read more as I'm going into this message right here, you can do so. All right. So let me go ahead and go to my next segment. I'm finna talk to you about organized crime. All right. Because anytime somebody break the law, hold on for a bit. Let that load for you. Anytime somebody break the law, they say, and they calling out a RICO, they talking about organized crime. And so since we say we're going to judge rightfully in this case, and it's because of what somebody did wrong, and we want to say God bless America, and like they did in the Chris Rock movie, God bless America and no place else, is what they said. You know, I'm Sharon Stone's cousin. But let's look at this right here. After you heard that history, let's look at this right here. Now, if you can go underneath my video, and if you don't want to, let me post it. I'm going to pin it inside of the chat. Because I didn't pull up everything, but I'm finna pin this inside of my chat. All right. I don't want you to leave, but if you have to, if you want to go and grab this information, go ahead and grab that. And if y'all willing, I'll give you some time to come back. Give you at least, so while I'm talking or whatnot, then I give you a little bit of time to go in, and grab this information. Because we say I am American, right? And we say I'm not from Africa. We say I'm not from this place, that place. I am an American. I'm proud to be an American, right? And say African sold us into slavery. I'm an American. You know who was purchasing you? Do you know who was buying you for wine and liquor? Shalom, Elder Zaquan, Solomon Project, Shalom, NC Rockstar, Los Angeles. Finna go ahead and post this down here for y'all in the chat. All right, so that's the information you can grab if you would like. All right, so I'm finna go ahead and start reading this. This is from the E4J University Module Series, Organized Crime, Module 1, Definition of Organized Crime. Give you a little bit of time. And if you can, exit out a little bit, and you should be able to hear me in the background. Go ahead and pull up this information and read it along with me. If you got another device, it'll be even better because you can stay right here and read right along with me. Module 1, Definitions of Organized Crime. Introduction and Learning Outcomes. Key Issues. Defining Organized Crime. Definition in the organized crime. So they're telling you different things. That's the key issues, exercises. And then I'm finna get on down and start reading it. So defining organized crime. The most obvious distinction between organized crime and other forms of criminal conduct is that it is organized. In general terms, it does not include random, unplanned, individual criminal acts. Instead, it focuses exclusively on planned, rational acts that reflect the effort of groups of individuals. We read some groups of individuals. Several efforts have been made to elicit common elements to describe and define organized crime with greater specificity. Specificity. A list of all the crimes committed by organized criminal groups would be outdated quickly as social, political, and technological changes result in changing opportunities for crime in different locations. Therefore, the unit of analysis in most definitions is not the offense, but the offender. An organized criminal group. A better understanding of the nature of these groups will help in developing more effective responses to them. A broad typology of organized crime is offered in modules 3 and 4. There are many definitions of organized crime. Analysis reveals that several characteristics of organized crime are common among these definitions. Albanese, 2016. Finkener, 2005. Hagen, 1983. Maltz, 1985. These characteristics include the purpose of organized crime: to financially profit through crime. Why did they bring our ancestors over here? To financially profit off of them. Why else did they bring them over here? To traffic them and force them into being essayed. They were groomed. As you've seen, they didn't want to take the elderly. They took the younger one. They took the women at childbearing ages. They took the men at childbearing ages. They took the ones who were able to do the jobs that they wanted them to do. They had a book full of history of what these people could do. Specifically, in historical documents, it says who these people are and were. On the map, it states it plainly that they knew who they were grabbing. They called them specific name. These characteristics include the purpose of organized crime: to financially profit through crime. And they labeled this trafficking as a crime, even though it was a crime before they labeled it as a crime. Organized crime mainly responds to public demand for services. Abraham Lincoln was going to sign something that was going to disrupt their demand for these services, because it was written in law and it was already unlawful what they did. And Britain and them jotted it down and acknowledged that this was a crime. Organized crime mainly responds to public demand for services. So it was other culprits in this. There are other people who are also connected to this RICO case against the people of the kingdom of Judah that settled in West Africa. Corruption is an enabler that protects organized crime operations. Sometimes intimidation, threats, and or force are also needed to protect these operations. That's why they set up the slave catchers. And if you know the history of where your sheriff department and police departments started up, or even your military, then you will understand that this is a RICO. These elements comprise organized crime, as a continuing criminal enterprise. Even the barcode Amerigo setup. This is a continual enterprise, just like they saying about Negroes that open up a business. And they doing things that, according to them, I got to say, allegedly, they doing things that they not supposed to be doing. Right? This place was set up. It has a name, it has a barcode name. The people who are given barcode as a name, black was the commodity. White was to be the supervisors over the commodity to make sure that this thing run like a fine-tuned engine. As a continuing criminal enterprise, as long as it exists, and even though it does not, it refuses to pay, for the purposes of these modules, a general definition of organized crime could read as follows. Definition of organized crime. For the purpose of these modules, organized crime is a continuing criminal enterprise that rationally works to profit from illicit activities that are often in great public demand. So redlining and other things are still in great demand. That's why in Florida, they still have it passed, put a cap on rent so that they can redline you whenever they get good and ready. And when you go to court, they can dismiss your case as unfounded allegations. That rationally works to profit from illicit activities that are often in great public demand is continuing existence. So if somebody say, if ABC news channel was started off and they doing good, right? And then they have somebody in there that start doing bad, do they shut down the whole ABC news channel? No, they just take the people that's breaking the rules that was reestablished as a peace treaty in the company. They take down the people out of that position, and then they may write up a new guideline and dialogue on how they finna operate now. Inside of my school, if the teacher allowed us to chew bubble gum inside the class, and we started putting it underneath the desk, then she will make a rule, a law in the school, in the class, that you can't eat bubble gum inside of the classroom. If we take you outside and let you sit at the lunch table, then y'all can eat bubble gum out there. Or they just abandon it all the way, right? So since they're not finna ban the whole school, then they set up rules in order to come against the thing that the school was doing. So if there was a school that was set up on discrimination from its foundation, in order to fix that school, they would have to rewrite the constitution of the school. But if they seek to keep the school in a uncouth, in a way that is uncouth, in a way that is unproductive, in a way that is if they continue to keep it as the same enterprise, then they're false advertising, saying they false flagging when they say that this is no longer a discrimination inside of this school. All right. So if the teachers outlaw only certain students with green hair, well, with red hair, if they outlaw the students with black hair, and they in-law the students with red hair to chew bubble gum, and the students with black hair trying to make peace, do y'all see what's going on? Existence is maintained. So if you didn't start the problem, why are you the one that's demanded to fix it, as if that is the reparations for that, right? You didn't start it, so anything you do is you loving your brother and sister. But for them to repair it, that is repair. You're not the one that broke it. If you working on fixing your car just because somebody else hit your car, and you work on fixing your car, it does not mean that you are the one that wrecked your own car. But because you know you got to get around and ain't nobody gonna care, you got to go out there and try to fix your car yourself, or get somebody to fix it, or find organizations that assist you in fixing your broken car. And if they blame everything on you, but somebody else ramshack your car, and you take this to court, and they got pictures and video footage showing that your car was ramshacked and you was keeping the laws of the road, then that is racism. It is continuing existence and maintaining through corruption and public officials and the use of intimidation. If you don't vote, all this bad stuff gonna happen. If you don't vote, you don't get no human rights when you should be born with that. Threats or force to protect its operation. A general definition has limitations. However, so even this general demonstration, this general thing, what I'm saying to you has limitations, because I'm not speaking everything that it is, right? However, because organized crime activities varies across countries, regions, crime types, and nature of its organization, therefore, it is important to know that general elements of organized crime, but greater knowledge is needed to understand how it manifests in different locations and criminal contexts. So why I brought this up and I told y'all about the cases that's going on. How can one RICO charge another one that they say is RICO? Why not allow the people who are under oppression? Why not let us make a sound judgment on what? Let us set up a place for the people to be at. In my estimation, I don't think that people should live in cages like animals. I believe that since people who set up this organized crime and are and pass it on to their beneficiaries, the ones that's running this is the beneficiaries that was passed on from their ancestors, and the classification of white and black was how they set it up to be. And so why not, if you want to be fair, if you say, well, everybody's innocent until proven guilty, right? So why not allow us to have our own stuff set up? We can have a community where it's a gate put up high as y'all want it to be, so y'all can feel safe. And let them live inside of their houses, inside of that place. And nobody don't go in there. Leave them in there. The one that break it, let them go. They're gonna have to be put inside of there. Right? For they break certain crimes, let them go in there. And then let our people go in there and patrol it inside of there. But nobody don't want to do that. Because see, that's called allowing somebody to structurally work on something. But so they're gonna shut it down like they shut down the Panthers and all the other stuff that some of our people is saying that the Panthers and everything was LGBTQ. What is the ideal that we should don't every other community have their own security inside of their own communities? Do we say that every community is LGBTQ? The LGBTQ was pushed from the bottom, from the top to the bottom, not the bottom to the top. So when they shut down the Panther Party, is everybody that was saying Black Power, is everybody that was saying Black Power, is they under the table? I said Black Power before. I ain't under the table. I heard brothers and sisters in the community saying Black Power and holding up their fists. They weren't being racist. They meant that we're trying our best to hold on and fight for our survival. That's not no a cult organization. So when they seen Bill Cosby hold up his hand, he was saying, I'm fighting for my freedom. Should he not fight for his freedom? Whether nobody believe that he guilty or innocent or not. That should be proven in the court of law, I thought. So which laws we going by? What are we going by? Is we fighting for feminism? Is we fighting for masculinism? What are we fighting for? Is we fighting for the word? Is we fighting for our own self? What is our aim? What is our goal in the full scheme of the whole thing? What is our goal? What is we trying to reach? We don't come together like we ought to. So what is our purpose? What is our goals? What are we trying to do? You feel me? What are we trying to do? So shouldn't we, if we say we men, right? We say we men and we're going to fight for women, okay? And the women say, I love that man. He stood up for that woman. If he did good, he did good, right? So what should you think that your men should do? Shouldn't your men be running and operating their own systems? So that if your brothers and sisters get wrong, they can put them inside of their own facilities? If we say, I don't like the unfair treatment inside of this private prison, it's a private prison. It means it's owned by a private citizen. Private citizens own private prisons. A federal prison is owned by the ones that purchased your ancestors when they paid your slave masters reparations for you. When they paid your slave masters for you. The state, the country, that the White House owns you. The White House owns you. So So I know people gonna say I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm a troublemaker, I'm just retarded, I'm saying things that don't make no sense. But do they say that when you go to Mexico and the Mexicans have their own prisons? Do they say that when you go when in the Bible you had your own stuff, but in these days you ain't got nothing? But everybody else that had something back then, they still got their stuff. But the people who the Bible prophesied say you ain't gonna have nothing, and it's a people on this earth right now that's in the position that the Bible said they would be in, and it's people that not understanding. They called you the kingdom of Judah. We don't want to believe that, but they called you black, but you believe that. They said you Africans, you believe that, but the Bible say you're kings and priests, but you don't want to believe that. A king means a messenger. A priest means that you're set apart. You're a set apart messenger. Malak means a messenger. Kahan means you're a set apart minister. So when we look at this right here, we're minister under the Melchizedek order, though, not under the Levitical order, but under the Melchizedek order. Many are called, but few are chosen. Many don't want to receive the call. Only a few do. What should you, if you are a messenger, should you not be a messenger of the truth? And if a messenger come to you and tell you that the transatlantic slave trade never happened, that's a messenger of lies, right or wrong. Let me go and pull up the Bible verse about ignorance. Ignorance. Of ignorance. I know it's in Leviticus. I just don't know exactly where to look. Because a lot of times I don't pay attention to the numbers. So I don't know exactly what number it's at. So let me look it up. Sometimes Google come in handy. All right. Leviticus. Leviticus 4:27. And Hamashiach said this as well. Leviticus 4:27 through 33. So Leviticus 4:27, 33. Okay, Leviticus 4:27. All right, here we go. And if anyone of the common people sin through ignorance, while he doth something but against any of the commandments of Yahweh concerning things which ought not to be done, and be guilty, or if his sin which he have sinned come to his knowledge, when it come to his knowledge, then he shall bring his offering, a kid, which is a goat, of the goats, a female without blemish, so it's a female goat, for his sin. And a female, if you're talking about a nation, represents the nation without a blemish. For his sin, which he have sinned. This is called the scapegoat. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering and slay the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering. So if you in court, right? And they got you sitting in there. And all of the offenses is put on somebody that's innocent. And to get everybody else off scotch-free. That's what Messiah was for us. He took on our transgression. He died like a sinner for a sin he didn't commit. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering and slay the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering. Okay? So Messiah is the sin offering and he's also the burnt offering. He took it all. But when you reject Messiah, you're going to see who is the ones that reject Messiah. So the ones who receive Messiah, they're in the burnt offering and the sin offering. Because that's who he is. When the priest lay his hand on the sheep and on the goat, is to transfer the sin from the people, even from the priest, over to the goat. But Messiah is a high priest that never sinned. So all of the sin and the transgression, all the high priest and everything was put on this goat. He didn't break the law. But his blood kindred did. And the priest, the Kohan, take of the blood thereof with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar, which is for mercy, and put it upon the horns of the altar of the burnt offering. You burn fires for judgment, that destroy all the life of it, right? Destroy every portion of the life. And shall pour out all the blood thereof, because that's where the life is. So the blood of Hamashiach was poured out, ripped with the whips, and shall pour out all the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar. Did Messiah want us to put our hope in animals when he said, and when he gave us the commandments not to worship them nor bow down to them? He's a jealous Allahayim. Did he want us to put our hope in the animals that he commanded us to sacrifice? Do we worship the food that we eat, or do we give thanks for the food that we eat? So that show you that he didn't want us to put our hope in these animals that we were sacrificing back in them days. And he shall take away all the fat thereof, as the fat is taken away from off the sacrifice of the peace offering. This is for peace, even in this sin offering. And the priest, the Kohan, shall burn it upon the altar for a sweet savior, for a sweet odor unto Yahweh. So when they cooked it, it was for a sweet odor to Yahweh. And the Kohan shall make an atonement for him. So the atonement was not for the sheep, because the sheep didn't do the wrong, but it was for the person that sacrificed it. When you kill to eat, the animal ain't dying so he can live. The animal dying so you can live. When you when you take the living organism that you call fruit, eat it, the orange didn't die so it can live. It died so you can live and rejuvenate your body. And it shall be forgiven him. So once the sacrifice, then it shall be forgiven him, because by that lamb you were able to live. Just like when you eat, you able to live. When you eat the word of Yah, you able to live. So by the lamb sacrifice of Yahweh Shai, you able to live. And if he bring a lamb for a sin offering, If he bring a kabash for a sin offering, or they say in Eved, the Eved people say if they bring a airway for a sin offering, he shall bring it a female without blemish. It had to be perfect because Messiah is perfect. This is what it was symbolizing. So you couldn't bring an imperfect lamb with spots and blemishes or nothing. It had to be perfect. He had to be he had to be clean, not a clean leper. He had to be sinless, not somebody that repented for sin and was forgiven for it, because without his blood, there is no remission of sin. So if he was not what the Father said he would be, that there is no such thing as righteousness. Because if the Father told a lie, then there is no creation, because he spoke and it was. It's impossible for him to lie. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering and slay it for a sin offering in the place wherein they killed the burnt offering. What do your head represent? Authority. So when the Almighty sent his authority for us to lay his hand on the head of Yahweh, when they slew Yahweh, it was Yahweh transferring our sin when he laid his hand, when he put his hand on Yahweh to kill him. It was for our sin that he took out the lamb. When we slew the animals that was innocent so that we'll be able to eat and live, it was so we would be able to live. So look at this. Fearing in the place wherein they killed the burnt offering. And the Kohan shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it upon the horns of the. So how can we be done away with? How they taught us and tricked us to come over here to become to say that that who we is not important because we done away with. And the apostle Sha'awal warned the Gentiles not to boast against the natural olive branches, saying that we are being done away with. Because if they reject the branches, then they reject the vine, and the branches is supported by the vine. So if they reject the vine, then who it is that's supporting them? They can be cut off because they were brought into a tree that was not theirs, and to a promise that wasn't even theirs. Of the altar of burnt offering, and shall pour out all the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar. See, Yasharal was given the covenant. It was Yasharal that was out there in the hot Sahara desert. It was Yasharal that was carrying the Ark of the Covenant. It was Yasharal that went through all that stuff that they went through with and suffered. So the apostle Sha'awal say, Yah forbid, he have not done away with his people. 35, and he shall take away all the fat thereof, as the fat of the lamb is taken away from the sacrifice of the shalom. So y'all see that, of the shalom offering. And that's how they got atonement for breaking the covenant. So even with Yahweh, even though he didn't sin, he sent his only begotten son, and he did work in order for restoration. And then he turned around and tell Yahshua, if you love me, keep my commandments. So there's work to be done, right? If you steal, then you're supposed to restore what you stole. And we see when we talking about judgment, and we talking about our ethnicity and everything, and we don't see the importance. Let me look up when Hamashiach talked about when you don't know something to do and don't do it. He that knoweth, look at this. He that knoweth just because people pretend like they don't know, don't mean it's going to erase their responsibility. The apostle Yachanan, Yiqwaba is the brother of Yahushua. He is an apostle of Yahushua. And the scripture says in the Psalms that we'll believe in Yahushua's report through his apostles. So if you turn it to Yiqwaba, my bad, I keep saying Yachanan. Yiqwaba chapter 4, verse 17, this is Yahushua's teaching, because this is his brother Yiqwaba, who is an apostle that walked with Yahushua, in his ministry for 3 years. Verse 17, therefore to him that know to do good and do it not, to him it is sin. To him it is a transgression of the law. So we know to do good. We know to do good. In America, they know what they did wrong. And so that show you they know what to do good. And when we do wrong, as the layman people, like the scriptures called us, we know to try to get it right. We know to do good, right? But how is it we is the only one that's always the only one held accountable? But it seems like nobody else is held accountable for what they do. And we scoff and argue at one another when we want to hold other people accountable for what they do to us. Shalom, heart tried and fire. I've been trying to figure out how to share this, how to share y'all up here, but it's not letting me do it today. Maybe I'm on, let me see if I can switch it to YouTube. No, so they're not letting me do it today. But I'm glad that y'all came in. Shalom, heart tried and fire. Y'all make sure y'all follow the brothers and sisters that's coming inside of the chat. But fam, that's what I wanted to come on here and drop today. You know, people act like there is no sin that has been committed. You know, all of us have sin. How come we the only one that's treated as if we sin? I know we sinned before. I know Israel done sinned before. I know Israel done sinned. I know Yasharal, they call themselves hairdos and skin colors, done sinned before. But we not the only one that done sinned before. The scripture said that the nations have sinned. We're not the only one that sinned before. So why are we treated like we the only one that sinned before? Why we treated like we the only one that can sin? Some of us, whatever we doing, we know we gonna be held accountable for it. But why do we feel like other people need to be let? So if the conditions of that living inside of a cage like an animal, they'll have more mercy on a dog than they do on some of our brothers and sisters inside of them prisons. And if it was somebody that we was acquainted with personally, and we had built a foundational relationship with them, we would go and visit them if we loved them. And if it was us in that position, we would want somebody to visit us and love us and vouch for us, even if we can't hear their voices. We don't know if we don't know what's going on if we don't go and check, or we don't even vouch for them. We don't, you know what I'm saying? So we need to take responsibility and start speaking up. I'm saying that we need to do something in order to help our people to stop getting in trouble. You know, like a brother was saying. And last time I made a mistake, that was brother. I still got love for brother Ticket. But the brother that said that was his saying, Brother Willie D. Where he said sometimes you got to take your bitter with your sweet. That was Brother Willie D. And I want to give him his flower. That was Brother Willie D. But I heard one of our brothers. What was that brother name? Oh man. I just listened to his video. I know him if I see his picture. But I just listened. Okay, his name Dat Boy BOI Vic presents music and bill. So I was listening to him, and you know, I felt encouraged to come on here and say that we need to work together more. We need to do things together more instead of being so separate. And thank you, Brother Tantrum Knows, for coming. And the sister House of Prayer Ministries, Flower Tower, Elder Obadiah. I talked to Elder Obadiah yesterday. Had a good conversation with the elder. And Sister Professor, lovely lady, positive vibes. All of y'all, I thank y'all for y'all. I just want to say Shalom, Sister Wise Society, Brother Monster Moshe, K. Judah, all of y'all. Shalom to y'all. Love y'all. And to my wife and all of y'all. Just love all of y'all. All right, I'm finna get up off here. Thank you, Rider for Life, for sharing my video. Thank you, Mother April Showers, for the times that you share my videos. And all of y'all, just want to say Shalom. I'll be on here all day long, but I got to go, fam. Thank y'all for coming and listening. If you just not getting it here, please rewind it back to the beginning and listen from the beginning. Shalom. Hope you enjoy the outro. To some that done went on, here's the name of 3 off the top of the head. Jay Green, Soap Money, Gerald Lewis, I know that we gotta go someday, but somehow we learn to live with the pain that won't go away. In the ghetto, 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 in the hood, in the hood, in the hood, man, in the hood, in the hood, in the hood, man. Your turn, Jitty boy, say it for me, man. President, so I ain't never met a real drug lord. 94 crime bills, school to prison, pipeline, massive concentration for the destruction of a nation, instituted integration. Why we bear the bank for money, why the church be making billion? Who we be? We so captive, we reject our father and a mother. Peter popping off early in the morning, man, with some tap water saying it's a miracle. Whoa, my brother out of the gates, it's a medical. With them hustle hard for that do loud. One try separated by the distance and the time. It was done by the sign to the mind. North side, south side, east side, west side, every side. There's been a great divide. Guam, Yasharala. In the ghetto, return to the covenant. In the ghetto, ghetto. In the ghetto, in the ghetto, in the ghetto. In the ghetto, in the ghetto, in the ghetto. In the hood, in the hood, in the hood, man. In the hood, in the hood, in the hood, man. Your turn, GD boy, let them hear you rap.
Return to the covenant and get to that.
I'm trying to tell you, we need each other, family. Let's not separate. Let's come together in love.
And I know
There'll be many that don't want to do right. Just like on life, like can't get right. Listen, but to you who understand the call, come together, Mashpakal.